Aloha, welcome back. I am Fleur. If we haven't met yet, I am the face behind Aloha Monday Teaching, where I help middle school science teachers like me and you just be more intentional in our classrooms, prepared and refreshed for Monday and any day of the week, which helps us be the best we can for our students. So in today's video, we're talking about movement in the classroom. So anything I mentioned, blog posts, other videos, or whatever, books, resources, any of those things, or anything related to today's topic will be in the description below. So be sure to check that out. So today's video is based on the blog post, what are some movement in the classroom benefits? So movement in the classroom benefits students and teachers. So as science teachers, we need to make sure that our students are moving throughout our class period. Really, as any teacher, we should do this. So we are going to explore how movement benefits the brain and learning and how to incorporate movement into your day. You'll see how simple it really is. So we are going to first talk about why most classrooms need movement, how movement benefits the brain, and 4 ideas to get kids moving in class. All right, so here's what I want you to picture. So think about, when you're in a staff meeting or a professional development class and you're sitting for a long time. How well are you actually paying attention to the presenter? So if you're like most people, you need to get moving to focus better on what's being said. And so that's how it is for our kids. So now let's kind of reflect. And this might be like, it might be cool. Okay, yeah, that's true. Or it might be a harsh reality check for some of us. I know I'm guilty of some of these things and I'll share more later. But think about your classroom. So imagine your classroom on any given day or on a note-taking day when you're giving information. You're on 5E Explain, okay? How long are the kids sitting? If they're sitting too long, do you think they're actually focused on what's being said? They might be spacing out, right? So for us, for science teachers, we're pretty lucky because most of our days, our kids are up and moving around the room. They might be doing a lab, they're in stations or something like that. But on note-taking days, so this is where I've had to solve my own problem and be very intentional on this, is I need to intentionally incorporate brain breaks into my presentation, into my lesson, so that my students are not sitting too long. Because you know how it goes. Some days you're like, all right, we got so much to cover because, we have a lot to teach and it feels like we don't have enough time. But we're over here, we're like, here's our PowerPoint, here's our notes, here's this, and we're just talking. The kids are writing, they look like they're paying attention, right? The hour goes by, class is over. They did not get up once to move and, do that. So we might need to be more intentional. That's what I've had to do. And I still have to do it to this day. Okay. So don't think that it is absolutely perfect in my class. It is not. Okay. Remember, all of this stuff is for me and for you. It's for all of us. Okay. So anyway, besides science teachers, unfortunately, most of our classrooms in school look like this, where students are sitting all class period long. And that is one of the reasons why we need to incorporate more movement. I mean, there's more other reasons, but that's just one reason. All right, so let's talk about the benefits of movement in the classroom. So when we move, blood flows to our brains, which brings oxygen to our brains, okay, or to our students' brains. I'm just going to say our brains. This is for all of us, really, but it helps our students because then they have that blood flow, which will allow the brain to process information better, to think better, to focus better, to give attention. So that is why we need to move in our classroom. And when the brain is given time to process information, which is extremely important in learning, then it's able to create connections and those neural links to move information from that working memory to short-term memory, hopefully to long-term memory, okay? So those are the benefits of movement in the classroom. Now, it's suggested for middle schoolers that we have them move every 8 to 12 minutes. So I was thinking, I've read different books and we may be able to get away with every 20 minutes. But the problem with that is we probably lost our kids who already struggle with focus. So 8 to 12 minutes would be better than 20 minutes because then at least we're reaching all of our kids, not just the kids who can last longer sitting in their chairs. You know what I mean? Um, so this giving them that break will give students a chance to process what they are learning and to make connections in their brains. So how do we do this? How do we have them move every 8 to 12 minutes without that feeling of being worried that we're not going to get them back on track? Right? Do you feel that? I totally understand because I'm there with you. So we're going to talk about 4 simple movement activities. Now these are more examples than anything, but because I wanted to try to be specific. So these are just 4 examples, 4 types. Okay. And I have this picture, this book by from the Responsive Classroom. I think that's what it's called. I love this book for brain breaks. So the 4 ones we're going to talk about today are stand up and discuss, brain breaks, air right, cross lateral movements, and around the room activities. So first, like I was saying, how I needed to be intentional. If you're like me, this might be useful for you. This might be helpful. I made this quite a while ago when I realized that I had a problem and I needed to incorporate more breaks and things into my lessons because I was a teacher who would just go on and on and on and on. So this is a PowerPoint that you just insert slides into your PowerPoint to give those intentional breaks, intentional thinking time. Okay. So this is what I use to be intentional. And I'm going to show you a couple examples right now. So stand and discuss. So remember, every 8 to 12 minutes. Okay. And this one is so they won't even get off track as far as by doing like activities and stuff. So this is a simple one if you just need a starting point. So what you do is you're teaching and then you give them a question or some kind of prompt to discuss. So the movement piece is they stand up. Simply standing up is going to get them moving. You don't want them on their bums. So Dr. Gurian at the Gurian Institute is a training I went to a few years ago. He said something like, if the bum is numb, the brain is the same, something along those lines. So basically, if you're sitting too long and your butt is numb, your brain is the same. It's numb. It's not learning anything. So it's important to move up. So all they have to do is stand up and discuss what they're learning. Okay. So that is one simple way to get them out of their seats. And you can add to that. You can even have them walk to a partner or something. Some of my classes do that on their own. They just want to get up and walk, which is fine because they're still manageable. Another one, you can use our brain breaks. And in this book, Refocus and Recharge 50 Brain Breaks for Middle Schoolers, I love this book. So they have so many different kinds of brain breaks you can do. This is just one of them, and it's called Air Write. And what they do is they stand up and use their finger in the air to write words. So standing up, that's the movement, and then you can have them use their whole arm. And that way, what I'm doing right now goes along with the next thing, which is cross lateral movements. But that will get blood flowing to their brain and get them using both sides of their brain. So you have them write whatever vocabulary word you're working on, convection, and then they write convection. And I like to say, okay, write it in cursive. And then they try to write it in cursive. Okay, use your other hand. And it's hard. And then I joke with them. I'm like, oh, your handwriting's really messy, or you misspelled it or something. And then they laugh. Then you have dopamine because they're laughing. So lots of good things for the brain. And that one is, I love Air Write because it goes right into what you're teaching. Oops, where did that one go? Oh, my cross lateral movement slide is not there. Cross lateral movements, I want to talk about that one next. So here, I'll come back to this. Okay, so cross lateral movements. And if you've probably heard of this if you've been teaching for a while, or if you're like know a lot about human body and stuff. So to get the brain engaged and the body moving, you can do cross lateral movements with your students. That basically means that you're crossing the midline. So here's your midline, and your right side is crossing to the left or left to the right. And that's going to work both hemispheres. So you could do something simple. Okay, touch your right shoulder with your left hand. Touch your left shoulder with your right hand, or something like that. Crossing the midline. So that is something really simple to do. And this was brought up at the Gurian Institute training too. And this is so funny because it is so true. Check this out. All right. Okay, video games are really good at this, right? They not only do they have the visual and everything, but they do the cross lateral movements. For example, all those dances from Fortnite, right? Okay, so they all cross the midline and it keeps the attention. So for example, when the students do the floss, it's crossing the midline, okay? Or how about that one where they're doing this one? Those movements keep their attention, they get their blood flowing and all that, and using both sides of their brain. So why don't we use those ideas in our classroom for our students to increase their engagement and learning and blood flow to their brain? An idea, right? And the fourth one, let me go back to the slide. Around the room activities. So this is what they're doing around the room. So they are moving. They're not just sitting. Stations, when we do different stations, labs, those kinds of things. That's an around the room activity. Scavenger hunts, and around the group assignments. Like if you've ever taught water cycle, you might have done a water cycle journey where they go around the room to the different parts of the water cycle. And there's a rock cycle scramble that I made. And so the students have to go through the rock cycle and then go to a part of the room like metamorphic, and then they write down something. They got to go to igneous, write down something. So that's just, they're out of their seats and they're moving. So you can do those kinds of things for movement in your classroom. All right. So we talked about why movement is important in the classroom. It benefits our students' brains and their learning. It gets that, you can hear my dog, it gets the blood flow going. And then I shared 4 ideas that are simple to incorporate into your daily routine. Probably the easiest one is the stand up and discuss. Another one, air right. So this would be while you are teaching. Cross lateral movements, crossing the midline, basically. You don't have to do the floss and stuff like that, but it's just interesting. And around the room activities where they're not at their seats working. They are working all over the room. All right, so it is your turn. How often, so this is the reflection piece, how often do you incorporate movement into your day? So just remember, not only is it important for our students, but it's important for us too. I mean, it is a classroom management strategy if you think about it. And then share what you do in your classroom or what you will try. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please comment below and let me know. And then be sure you like and subscribe, and then check out all the links below for more information. And you can even check out these videos that you might find useful in your classroom. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you.